Well, after understanding the poem to his Coy Mistress, its theme, the literary devices used by the poet, etc., now we shall go ahead with the discussion on the metaphysical aspects in this particular poem. So, what we see is that this particular poem is a perfect example of metaphysical poetry. How? Let's try to understand. I claimed, actually, this is my claim that this particular poem is a perfect example of metaphysical poetry. To say this, we should know what metaphysical poetry is. And we have already discussed what metaphysical poetry is. And I have told you that Andrew Marvell belonged to the second generation of metaphysical poets. And it was John Donne who actually started this particular genre. He the leader of this group of poetry. And John Donne influenced Marvell to adopt this unique style of his period. So, in the influence of John Donne could be seen in the writing of Andrew Marvell. So, Andrew Marvell, we see that employs several metaphysical concepts. We saw the example. For example, we saw the use of vegetable love, etc., or the time and chariot. So, these are metaphysical concepts, the extended metaphors, and other elements, allusions, etc. Now, let's see how. First of all, we see that he uses the far-fetched comparisons between coyness and crime, then gentle vegetables and love, time and chariot. So all these elements, all these comparisons are the examples of metaphysical concepts, and they make this particular poem a metaphysical poem. Then there are certain paradoxical sentences, means excuse me, the sentences which are opposite, contrasting, along with the forceful argument of the poetic persona. So that also makes, because logical argument, a paradoxical argument is one of the features of metaphysical poetry, and we see this argument, forceful argument, is trying to convey, convince, persuade his beloved, just like an advocate, a lawyer, and this is the quality of a metaphysical poetry. He uses certain images which are actually the stock images of romance, and they are full of metaphysical colors. We can see we come across the use of unfamiliar but unique images, and we understand that these are the features, characteristics of metaphysical poetry. So the image of lovers in the line, let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball. So this is one example of metaphysical poetry. Then the concepts like iron gates of life, amorous birds of prey, deserts of vast eternity, vegetable love. So all these are the metaphysical concepts, and all these, what you call devices, metaphysical concepts, etc., make us call that this particular poetry, make us understand that this particular poetry is a very good example of a metaphysical poetry. So this is how we understand that To His Coy Mistress is a metaphysical poem.